A founder member of the Sex Pistols and the Rich Kids, performing with Faces, Iggy Pop and Primal Scream, among many others. Glen Matlock needs little introduction, and he seems to have just as much energy as ever. Last year he released a solo album, Good to Go, and his new single from that record, Keep On Pushing, has just come out. We were lucky enough to have him perform a special session here in the London Live studios. So before I speak to him, let's see him in action.
What's your deal? Well, all I know is you need nerves of steel. Well, nerves of steel. Well, every day I keep it all together. In any way, baby.
Writing music is a funny thing. I'm just walking down the street, I see something, not of any great consequence, and you get a little tune idea in your head, and it becomes like an earworm, and it won't go away, and it drives you mad. I mean, when they go away, they're not really ideas worth bothering with. But when it keeps going round and round, it's time to pick up the guitar, and it happens quite a few times. Before you know it, you've got more than enough songs for an album, and the only way to clear out the cupboard of your mind is to go and record them. Now, I was lucky with this album. I've been doing loads of acoustic shows. I didn't want to do the same punk thing. If I was going to do that, I'd do that with the Sex Pistols. And I've done stuff over the years with Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats. So I asked him if he would play on that. Coupled with, a few years back, I went to see out at the Albert Hall to see Bob Dylan. I'm not a big fan of Bob Dylan, I can appreciate him. But his band was fantastic. And it's got a bass player, I think it's Tony Massey on double bass, Charlie Sexton on guitar, and the drummer played most of the stuff with brushes. And I thought, well, actually, if I could bring a bit of that to the songs that I've got. So I asked Slim Jim if he was up for it, because he's got like half a drum kit. And then I said, he said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And I said, any ideas for a guitarist? And he said, how about Earl Slick? Now, I didn't know he knew Earl Slick. I'd worked with Earl, done a few sort of silly little projects, and it just became very easy, and Earl was up there with Charlie Sexton and that kind of crowd of people. So he came and played on the album. It came out the way it came out. So
is it nice? I mean, you obviously talked about, because you've been with the Sex Pistols not that long ago. Is it nice exploring a different avenue of music and able to go down that route?
Yeah, I think so. I think it keeps it on your toes. If you just do the same old thing all the time, you get a bit staid and sort of stuck in a rut. And I like to bring a song into a rehearsal room or the studio, and you pick the people you want to work with, so you've got to give them some kind of credit and leeway, and you just start playing, and it comes out how it comes out. And if it's working, everybody knows it. If it ain't, then you have a little discussion about it. But it seemed to work pretty quickly. So we recorded the bulk of the album in about 8 days. All the loud bits and the guitars. I came back to London, worked on the vocals and fine-tuned some of the lyrics and stuff. But I've actually been writing since that's come out. I've probably got another album's worth of stuff.
You've worked with some extraordinary artists throughout your career. What are the ones you think have rubbed off the most? What you see you picked up the most, or you found inspiring as a fellow musician?
They're all kind of good and different in different ways, really. Iggy was fantastic to work with, and when I worked with him, I mean, he's a wild and crazy guy, his reputation, but I'd done the Pistols and the Rich Kids thing, but it had all been a bit wing and a prayer, and the first time I did a proper 30-date back-to-back tour was with Iggy Pop, and he'd been touring for a long time, had roadies, it was all set up properly, so that was how you were supposed to do it. And the first time I went to the States, in fact, the first time I went to New York, we headlined this place called the Palladium, and it was Halloween, and the Cramps supported us, and the whole audience back then, and this is in 1979, back then we never really celebrated Halloween there. The whole audience was dressed in fancy dress stuff, and backstage, dressed as a witch, was Debbie Harry, who gave me a kiss on the cheek. It was fantastic, my first time in New York, so yeah, thanks.
That's
Iggy.
a memory.
Yeah.
But also, I imagine that you can have then the chaos, but you can also put on a great show, which wasn't always the case with some British bands.
It wasn't always the case with me, but you learn to pace yourself a bit better as you get older. But you mentioned the Faces earlier on. That was my biggest buzz thing I've ever done. As great as Earl is, I mean, my favourite guitarist is Ronnie Wood. There's something about his playing, and they were such an important band to me and Steve and Paul from the Pistols. It's what got me the gig in the first place, and they opened the doors to all different kinds of music, Bobby Womack and the Staple Singers and the blues, and taking the Temptations seriously, and you know, there's a lot going on there.
And every member almost, the Faces, you know, went on to go and do incredible things. Is that the
But
same?
that's because they were good, you know. So I think if you've got something, it doesn't sort of fizzle out, hopefully. So that's what's kept me going, maybe. Or if you keep going, people think you're good.
Well, I think you obviously got something, because people keep wanting to work with you, and you've obviously still got that drive. What is also interesting, I've found out that you are doing a bit of motivational speaking, a bit of college talk.
I've been doing a few. There's a few. I haven't done for a little while, but there's a few colleges, music colleges around England called BIM, and I've done talks there and sort of seminars and things, which I quite enjoy doing.
And that must be quite interesting, looking back at those things and thinking of things to impart upon the students, as it were.
Yeah, but I think the only thing I can really impart is that you have some kind of work ethic. You know, you might have great ideas, but no kind of drive to get them done. But they tend to learn that a little bit. But I don't know. All you can do is pass on what you've learnt and hope they pick up on it.
But in a sense,
I don't have a mortarboard in a cake, but maybe that's where I'm
Don't give
going wrong.
grades.
Perhaps I will. Where'd you get mortarboards from? That's
well, there must be somewhere.
Don't
Selling.
say
If I was
building site,
watching,
right?
you'll get sent a bunch now, I hope.
bring them on. I think I'm a 7.5 if anybody's out there.
The next music video, you're sorted for a mortarboard then.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you said that about the work ethic, because that's something you hear quite a bit, but it doesn't obviously filter through. Obviously, some people just want it quickly. They want to be famous. And actually, in a sense...
If you can get it and sustain it, that's fine. I mean, if everything's unrolling for you, but as you get older, it doesn't necessarily work that way. But I'm lucky, you know.
But you got it quite quick,
I
didn't
can
you?
sit at home waiting for David Bowie to come out. Well, he's not going to now, but, you know, the equivalent of that. Don't happen, but you get offers and you think, well... But through saying yes and doing things, it's got me all around the world, and I'm here now, sitting in Kensington with you.
Are you surprised ever by, 40 odd years on from the Pistols, the amount of love and interest and importance people still hold them for them?
Yeah, but I think we had something going that, I don't know, I think we sort of somehow provided a benchmark that people can live up to or not. But I'm fortunate enough for travelling, as I say, I was just in South America. I mean, it's punk there. I was in Korea last year, punk. All around the world, this kind of seems to be the only sort of left field thing that people can kind of hang on to. Still.
Also, we've got new bands like the likes of Sleaford Mods, Idols. What do you make of the new generation of punks?
Some of them, I don't know them all that well. My sons play in bands and stuff. They tell me about things. Sleaford Mods, I think it's a great name for a start. Yeah, great. Awesome. But with all these things, I don't think, no matter how left field you are, or strike a good song with a good tune to carry the message that you're trying to get across is always important. So don't lose sight of that.
Sound advice. Now, you mentioned Korea there. You played in the Demilitarized zone in Korea. Sounds like an extraordinary place to be. What was that like, and what was the response like?
Well, it was surprising, really, because I kind of went with no real expectations and got it in the fact that we got taken on this train with the bloke who's probably going to be the next president of South Korea, all speeches and all that, and then we got there and then he met some other local dignitaries, and then they was all giving speeches telling each other who had the best hair, which is a bit weird. And then we arrive at this building, which is quite famous. You've probably seen pictures of it, which was the North Korea Labour Party headquarters where people had been killed and tortured. So it was a bit moving. Then they got a dance troupe home. I'm thinking, oh no, here we go. But it was very moving what they did. But the other side of the road, there's a farmer's market selling honey from the farmland that's within the demilitarized zone. It was all a bit kind of weird, and these people, nobody's allowed to live there, but they can go in the morning and farm and have to leave by sunset. And when you do finally drive through it to the actual border, you can see why, because there's all bits cordoned off with skull and crossbones signs because there's unexploded landmines there, and there's these escarpments that you go through that look a bit odd, and you say, what's that? They said, oh, if the tanks come from the north, we can just blow it up, and you're driving through it, and you're going, oh, and then you get to the border, and there's this bombed out train, and there was a little gig there. I didn't play there, I played down the road a bit. And there's a big hill, and you think, that's a funny hill, and they go, no, it's an anti-tank trap, and there's some steps going up. So if you go there, you can see North Korea. Well, you can do, but because nobody lives here, it's like a natural habitat, and there's a rare breed of ibis that thrives here. So it's to go and see the birds, and this is on the border, but it's like, I didn't know any of that till I went, so it's good to say yes. But the bands there were great. I played with this band called Crying Nut, and this other guy who's like the Paul Weller of South Korea called Cha-Cha. In fact, I played on his new record. He sent me the files over and I put some bass on it and sent it back. You know, I made some good friends, and they've all got that kind of spirit.
And about your spirit, we've got obviously gigs coming up in May.
Yeah.
Are you thinking further ahead than that, or do you keep things at more short term?
No, I was having a meeting this morning, and we got stuff through May. I'm going in March, I'm going to Sweden, I'm going back there. We're doing some solo shows there in July. Looks like we're going to be doing the Fuji Festival in Japan and hanging some gigs in the Far East around that. So it could be a busy year for Matlock.
We look forward to it. Thank you very much, Glen Matlock.
All right then, thank you.
Cheers, thank you. And you can hear Glen's new single, Keep On Pushing, which is out now, along with his new album, Good To Go.